4 out of 10 tornadoes in Missouri occur overnight, but linking those isolated storms to broad-scale climate change can be tricky. There are other reasons that may also be changing your risk from tornadoes, including the home you live in. Severe storms account for half of all billion-dollar disasters in the United States since 1980, but connecting climate change to these localized events is difficult. The most expensive storms are becoming more common, though. Just last year, there were 19 recorded billion-dollar severe storms, almost double the previous record set in 2020 at 13. It's also hard to link tornadic activity to the climate. There have been no observable changes to the frequency of tornadoes in recent decades, but human behavior has changed over that time. Daytime tornado fatalities have dropped by 20% in the last 140 years, while nighttime fatalities rose 20% at the same time. Since it's tough to connect these events to a broad concept like climate change, I reached out to researchers who investigated even deeper. I spoke with Walker Ashley, a researcher at Northern Illinois University, who says this is much more a societal and vulnerability issue.
Impacts are largely dictated by your vulnerability. Vulnerability is a very all-encompassing term that speaks to one's exposure, but also their socioeconomic status.
The places where severe storms and tornadoes occur the most is also where many people have the highest vulnerability.
So let's think the Arklatex, the Tennessee Valley, the Central and Lower Mississippi valleys. These are areas that are already highly vulnerable. A large proportion of folks in poverty, a lot of people in substandard or more vulnerable housing, such as mobile and manufactured housing.
I also spoke with Dr. Stephen Strader at Villanova University, who has expounded on this research and looked at how we can remedy this issue.
When we look at nocturnal tornadoes, we actually see that nocturnal tornadoes tend to be more deadly, but actually they're increasingly more deadly for people that live in manufactured housing. We know that if you look at tornado deaths and where they occur, about 50% of tornado deaths occur in manufactured housing, despite only making up that 6% of the entire housing stock.
Dr. Strader says there are still ways to improve safety in mobile homes, especially with anchoring.
One thing that we could do is making sure that these homes are anchored to the ground much more readily. And if you look at a manufactured home, say in Miami-Dade County, the standards for which that home has to be anchored to the ground are much greater than places like Missouri and Illinois. If you do have a manufactured home or you're thinking about getting one, bring it up to the standards as if you were going to build it in Miami-Dade County. That'll give you, we call that Wind Zone 3 standard.
This problem still remains convoluted due to overlapping socioeconomic factors.
Frankly, most people who live in a manufactured home don't necessarily want to live in those homes, but they do so out of necessity. So we're passing the buck to people that might already be under financial hardship or vulnerable in other ways. So it is a tangled pretzel, knot of how to fix this.
Manufactured homes are still popular in some of the most high-risk areas from tornadoes, so no matter what type of home you live in, make sure you have multiple ways to receive weather information, including our StormTrack weather app and a handy weather radio. Reporting for tonight's ABC 17 StormTrack Climate Matters, I'm meteorologist Nate Splater.